Man.
Fair enough.
It's like, what am I hearing? Oh, yeah. It's a nice microphone. It's sensitive AF.
It's a pretty nice, but it's a good looking microphone.
I wonder if we spray painted it gold, how many people would get the reference?
Most of our audience, I would expect.
You know, you're probably right. You are probably right. Wouldn't even need to put the EIB on it. Of course, I would feel obligated to have the absolute best show possible at all times if we were going to hold ourselves to that standard. Like, I'll say this
about
Eric.
That might be reason enough to do it.
Like, I'll say this about Eric Erickson. You can love him, you can hate him. Man, I respect him because Rush Limbaugh was his friend. Like, they were personally close. And he's holding down that 12-3 slot. God, I'd be scared to death every day. Because of course that's who he gets compared to.
Of course. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Anyhow.
Let's run it.
But
All right. Good morning.
good morning.
How you doing, Sunshine?
Man, Wyatt, I am rolling. God, they were all such liars in that movie. Like,
yeah, they were.
I keep quoting it every morning, and then it's like, golly, man, they were all really just a bunch of broken men who, ended up becoming murderers. How about that? So, hey, it's Take It to 'Em Tuesday, and you know, we've been holding off on talking about the Herschel Walker stuff, and we haven't touched the current humiliating defeat of Stacey Abrams. But yes, I know. But dude, would you like to spend a minute and 19 seconds listening to Tulsi Gabbard?
Party on the yacht.
Wait. It gets...
Oh.
No, keep going. You're there. No, just push it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
Yeah, no, it's...
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, who demonize the police but protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, who believe in open borders, who weaponize the national security state to go after their political opponents, and above all...
This is the big one, y'all. I can't...
We're dragging us ever closer to nuclear war. Now, I believe in a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. Unfortunately, today's Democratic Party does not. Instead, it stands for a government that is of, by, and for the powerful elite.
Okay, we don't have to listen to the last few seconds of it, I suppose.
And can we just take a moment to appreciate, right? She's got the Shure microphone.
Yes.
She's got that nice, smooth, creamy bokeh.
Oh, that's right? Not what I was appreciating.
In the... And that, I mean, just tack sharp focus on that face that, frankly, I'm sorry, sweetheart, but the pores are getting picked up by the 4K, and that's not doing you all that many favors. But the production quality on this video is top notch, and then it's vertical. But
well, no, that's actually clever. Like that's so that people can share it around on their iPhones and watch it on Twitter. Like I understand.
It's TikTok politics.
It's TikToks. There's got to be a way to jam those words together.
Tiki-taki?
Nope, that's definitely trending in the wrong direction.
I don't know. She's Hawaiian. Yeah,
Now, let's just be racist.
take Ohana Road.
Is
Take
it
Ohana
racist?
Road down and turn left on Pipeline.
Is it racist if you're making fun of other Americans genuinely? Like, we're allowed to make fun of Southerners. We're allowed to, like, make fun of Northeasterners. Like, it's even an opening joke in Jaws. Well, the kids in the yard by the car.
Yeah.
I mean, anyhow. But yeah, no, so...
but down here, cod is something you fry. It's not something you send people on their birthday. So...
Look, it's like nuclear war is bad.
Who'd have thunk?
The Democrats, up until a few years ago.
Did they?
Well, they... Look, this is one of those
They
things
have
where...
gone out of their way. Look at Obama. Look at Obama actively dismantling countermeasures and going out of his way to guarantee the nuclear armament of Iran and to weaken all counter positions against Russia on the nuclear. The Democrat Party has been actively engaged in the business of promoting the conduct of a nuclear war by our foreign adversaries for 30 years.
Look, this is one of those, the appearance of ethics is often indistinguishable from ethics type of situations. And up until very recently, the Democrat Party gave the appearance of being opposed to nuclear armament and all the things that went along with it. So are they actually opposed to it is a whole different thing. And Sean Stryker jumped ahead of me, says, don't fall for the political talk. Tulsi is pro-gun control. I was actually going to say, let's be clear. She's not saying don't be a Democrat.
Right.
All right. That is not what she's saying here. What she's saying is, even for somebody like me that endorsed Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton in the internal Democrat Party politics, even for somebody like me, the Democrat Party has gone bug nuts, and I can't do it anymore. Like, now that we're flirting with nuclear war with Russia over what? A corrupt country that the president clearly has a personal investment in because of his son, and we're gonna risk worldwide Holocaust.
Right.
Yeah.
And so here's something that I want to make sure that we're very clear on. Tulsi's not the first one that we've seen do one of these why I left the left things. And it's basically always the same story. Oh, I'm leaving the left because the left has gone insane. But I want to be very clear about something. The left, the Democrat Party, they have not gone insane. They have not suddenly become more radical.
The mask has slipped. Yes.
That's right. The reporting has become more efficient.
Well,
they have not become more radical, right? 1950s Hollywood was an absolute hotbed of communism and perversion. Nothing has changed except for how far they've moved the goalposts and the Overton window on what we tolerate of their insanity. Their obsession with perversion, infanticide, and political corruption has not become more pervasive within their party. It has only been the case that they have been more successful with their perversion, infanticide, and general hatred of the United States of America. Their disdain for the upward mobility of the average citizen to enjoy the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness guaranteed by the forebearers. The left hasn't changed. They're exactly as psychotic as they have always been. Someone like Tulsi, what she's recognizing is not that the left has become crazier. She's recognizing what the effect of that psychopathy on the world around her actually is in reality. The fact of the matter is that the only reason she was ever a Democrat to begin with, like all Democrats, is because she is self-deluded into believing that child mutilation, infanticide, and communism are moral positives.
Andrea asked what her final point was. The final few seconds of her video were encouraging other Democrats to basically boycott the Democrat Party until they could get their shit together. We just paused it because the big thing that we wanted to focus on here was the nuclear war aspect of it. You know, and the thing is, that's happened, and this is actually going to give us a neat little segue into the actual stuff we're going to talk about this morning, about the nature of your average politician. Just like Trump was a paradigm shifter, Obama was also a paradigm shifter.
Yeah.
A lot of the elites felt like they no longer needed to hide their intentions or whatever, because they figured Obama's our boy. We got him in office.
Yeah, he was the first Negro that was clean and articulate, and kind of ready for public consumption.
Well, look, and it's not just.
Come on, man.
That's not us. That was.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know. They're coming from the same guy who says you can't walk into a 7-Eleven without a slight Indian accent. I know. Okay, and now he's president.
Yep.
President. But. You just had to. Okay. But no, while Obama was president, they felt like they no longer needed to engage in euphemism. Like, remember, like there was the host, it was DJ somebody or other. He had a show on CNN that bombed terribly, but he used to make the point that Obama's proof that we're no longer a center-right country, we're a center-left country. And then there was that infamous Time magazine cover that was like, oh, well, we're all socialist now. And and all these, they felt like they didn't need to hide anymore, when in reality, Obama's first election was not driven by socialist policies. It was driven by people that honestly believed he was the best chance to end the endless wars, as he used to say. That's why he lost millions of voters between 2008 and 12.
Yeah, because he didn't end the wars. Up the endless wars. And like, you know, into the weeds on that, by the way, Obama didn't just fail to end the endless wars he promised that he would end. I made this point over and over again, arguing against people voting for Obama the first time he ran. Like, guys, he got up there and he said, hope and change, hope and change. The only actual political promise he made in his original campaign run, like, he talked about the idea of socialized medicine and Obamacare, but it wasn't his big push when he originally ran for office. The only political action promise that he actually made was, if elected, I will invade Pakistan. He made that pointed statement. And apart from that, it was all the hope and change, vagary, and ambiguity. But he said very explicitly, I will invade Pakistan. And guys, you got to understand, that was before we had been in Afghanistan for 10 years, 20 years, right? When I was in Afghanistan, we had been there for 10 years. And it had only been a couple of years since Obama said, I will invade Pakistan. So, yeah, but let's not get it mixed up here. The fact of the matter is, the Democrats have not become more insane. And Demography asked the question a second ago, what have the Republicans done to stop it? Demography, I do not have a good answer for you. The best I can say on that front is that when you are voting in modernity, your choice is between the acceleration of the absolute decline of the empire, the death of America, and with it, by the way, the deaths of millions of people worldwide, because you're talking about a financial and economic collapse that ends the U.S. foreign aid on which nearly half the planet survives. So you're choosing between that and somebody who will fill the seat and at best slow that march. Unfortunately, where we are right now is what you're voting for is to slow down the ravages of a psychotic enemy that seeks to kill the planet. It's not voting for the lesser of two evils. It's voting for the acceleration of evil or a moderately effective roadblock.
Anyhow, the nature of politicians. You were right there to tee up, and then I understand demography was making some juicy comments in the comments section there, but
do you want to go to H or S first?
Let's go to H. I think we can just end on because okay, Herschel Walker. Have y'all heard that he got in a wee bit of trouble? There was an October surprise.
Boo! Surprise! Herschel Walker denies paying for abortion, gets dragged by son on Twitter. Okay. I'm going to say this first. And we've done a pretty good job of keeping the language clear today, but I'm going to break the move here. Herschel's son, a 23-year-old
Christian.
His name is Christian, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's not a Christian.
Look.
Herschel's son has just absolutely torn into him on Twitter over this whole controversy. And I would just like to say that's a bitch move.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a bitch move. Like there's no
if you're watching, Your Majesty, call anytime, day or night. I will not ask you why until we've buried the body. I got you.
Look, it's definitely a bitch move. There's no question about that. Okay, so if you're like one of 12 people that hasn't heard the story, it came out that supposedly about 12 years ago, give or take, Herschel Walker had a girlfriend, got her pregnant, and then helped her pay for an abortion. And for somebody that is very, very pro-life and somebody that's Christian, family values oriented, huge scandal, okay? Really, really, really undermines his credibility. So many of the other things that have come out about Herschel Walker that the left is attempting to disingenuously use as an attack against him have already been covered. Like, he gave interviews with his ex-wife talking about having mental health problems. He wrote a book and talked about having mental health problems. None of these things were secrets, okay? But this was a secret. And it's not the accusation so much that hurt him. It's the fact that his son seemed to believe that it was true. Now, let me be clear.
Herschel is continuing to deny it, even still.
Oh, yeah, he's continuing. Look, I was getting there. I promise. Okay? Herschel is absolutely denying this. But here's the thing. It could be true. If I came to you and said, hey, super successful and charming and award-winning athlete knocked up a couple of women that were not his wife, you wouldn't even blink. You wouldn't even check to verify if what I was telling you was true.
Right, it's just like, yeah, it's Tuesday.
Right,
Look at my
exactly.
wrist.
Right. It's Tuesday. Look at my wrist. Yes. And it should also be noted that the woman has come forward. Thank you, Maul. Yes.
I love my mother.
Okay, that was funny.
Tell him what you think, Mom. Just let him have it.
Okay. And look, the woman has come forward. Supposedly, she's also kept like a copy of the check. I forget exactly what it is, but she's got like written documentation to verify this. Now, why you hang on to your abortion documentation for so many years
Right.
is weird. However, I've said before that abortion does something to a woman. Okay, so while it's weird that she would have kept this documentation, I don't know, man. Like, you were in love with Herschel Walker, you were pregnant with his child, and then suddenly you felt like, for whatever reason, maybe at Herschel's urging, or maybe because you had a severe case of pregnancy brain going on and realized Herschel was not going to be with you, you suddenly felt compelled to have an abortion. I don't know, maybe you do something bizarre, like keep that paperwork. So, do I think that this happened? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll give you a maybe on it.
Okay, this is
because
not like
Herschel-
Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels.
Right. Yeah, with Trump and Stormy,
We know what happened.
somebody said Donald Trump slept with Stormy Daniels. Stormy never said that she was forced or coerced or anything like that, just that they had an affair, right? And then everybody sees the picture of Stormy Daniels and says, well, yeah, she's the type. Donald has a type, and that's it. And nobody, when Donald Trump denied that he had sex with Stormy Daniels, even those of us that are big fans were like, yeah, bullshit. You did her. But, the retraction where Stormy came out and said, look, I lied about everything. We never did anything together. There was no non-disclosure agreement. This was all about publicity for me and my failing career. That retraction was published on like the back of the New York Times. But
I mean, look,
and even when Stormy came out and said I was lying about everything, I'm still like, yeah, no, he did you.
okay.
But with Herschel here, what we have is, in particular, we have the Daily Beast reporting that, where is it? The woman who asked to remain anonymous, so we have an anonymous source, told the Daily Beast that she and Walker agreed not to go ahead with the pregnancy. Right? Now, Walker says this is another repugnant hatchet job from a Democrat activist disguised as a reporter who has obviously attacked my family and tried to tear me down since this race started. Let me remind you that the Daily Beast is the outlet that originally published the Steele dossier, right? And this is what we call journalistic laundering. What happens is you get somebody like the Daily Beast to publish an article that's outlandish, right? But then the reputable outlets, the New York Times, the Washington Post, et cetera, they publish stories and reference the Daily Beast as a source, right? So you'll get the Post will publish referencing the Beast, and then you'll get Time publish and reference the Daily Beast. But now the Post and Time have both published articles. And so they'll go back and edit their articles and reference each other, removing the original dirty money from the mix. This is something that happens a lot, and it happened absolutely with the, I almost said the Stormy Daniels story. Hell, probably, but with the whole Russia collusion thing. That's how the Russia hoax, which we now know beyond a reasonable doubt, was perpetrated through the use of the illicit and fabricated dossier from Christopher Steele, facilitated by the law firm Perkins Coie, and directly funded by the Clinton campaign with the explicit support of Comey's FBI for the indicated purpose of conducting essentially a political assassination against a sitting president. That's who the Daily Beast is. That's who's publishing this article. That's who's publishing an article with receipts that they won't show you from an anonymous source. So if Herschel denies this...
You should know there are images of the receipt, quite literally.
Okay. So I'll back up a little bit. Okay, so with receipts, okay. Fair enough.
That are questionable, okay, but they exist.
But you're talking about receipts frankly, if the source remains anonymous, then how do we verify the veracity of the receipts?
Well, the woman has agreed to come forward, so there's...
And demography says unvetted Herschel Walker is no hill to die on. He's famous for carrying a ball fast. That's all we know. Demography, I would counter that argument with the alternative is vetted. The alternative is unsustainable, unacceptable. The alternative is not just Warnock, but potentially a continued Democrat stronghold deadlock where Kamala Harris is the deciding vote for another 4 years.
Yeah, and look, and let's be super clear about this. He said demography also said something earlier in the thread about Herschel Walker having, let's say, questionable track record or whatever. And I realize I'm paraphrasing you, but I'm trying to move on to something that I feel is really important. Here's the thing. Yes, it's entirely possible that Herschel Walker is an egotistical piece of shit that's got who knows how many girlfriends and children out there running around in the world that he won't claim because it's bad for his public image. That could absolutely 100% be the case. No doubt about it whatsoever. All right. And man, it would be great if what we had was two people of high character who were honest about themselves, warts and all, if that's who we had to choose from in this Senate race. But that is not who we have to choose from at all. Not even close. It's not us that forced this situation. I mean, remember in 2012 when we ran a literal choir boy?
You mean the choir boy that caused cancer maliciously and intentionally for what, personal entertainment, I guess?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm not Mitt Romney's biggest fan.
I didn't like him when he ran.
Okay.
For so many reasons. But the fact is that at the time, his character was unimpeachable. And so they fabricated impeachability. Same thing with Herman Cain, right? Same thing with Kavanaugh, right? Kavanaugh was a choir
rapist.
Boy.
Right.
Yeah, choir boy. And all of a sudden he's a gang rapist? Now, and I had some problems with Kavanaugh, but he's a gang rapist?
Yeah, no, probably
what?
not.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that's probably a no.
Look, demography, you say somebody should have vetted this info before he became easy cannon fodder. Actually, it was known, at least inside the state of Georgia, for those of us that consume Georgia media, it was known that the opposition research had some of this stuff. It was also known that the opposition research was going to take his mental health stuff wildly out of context. That none of this was really much of a surprise, just the way that it came down in October and the fact that his son appeared to support it after being one of his biggest cheerleaders throughout this entire process. That's what made this thing have legs. It could have just been another attack thrown at Herschel Walker up until you got to the point where it looks like family members believe it. And that's important. That does lend some credibility to it. Doesn't make it true, but it lends some credibility to it, okay? But look, even with the choir boy, okay? Here's the thing. We tried and we tried and we tried. Take the 90s, for example, when you had Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, both of which who had sexual scandals, and Newt left Congress at the height of his power over it, and Bill Clinton just continued to smile in that there camera, didn't he?
And we talked about this last night, early show prep, and it's the same with Gingrich versus Clinton and Trump versus Clinton. These are great examples of the double standard. It's far beyond a double standard, because what the Democrat would have you believe when you're making a choice on voting, and part of that decision is based on the moral value of the individual. we were told over and over and over again that what Trump did in his personal life was worse than what Bill Clinton did in his personal life. Because if you're accused of voting for Trump and being a hypocrite because Trump had poor moral standards, then you're a hypocrite. And we said, no, you don't actually care about any of that because you supported Clinton in the 90s. And they want you to believe that somehow Trump is worse than Clinton. Let me clear this up for you. Trump was a womanizer and an adulterer. And I find those two things to be abhorrent. But to argue to me that Bill Clinton's activities were comparable. Bill Clinton is an all but convicted, violent serial rapist.
You just put some ice on that. Seriously,
to
if you
pretend
haven't,
like
Google
what
that.
Clinton did is comparable to what Trump did. It makes you an intolerable person because you are pro-gang, you are pro-violent rape when it is politically convenient. And again, we ended up with a Trump because when we run choir boys, you falsify.
Yeah, they're devils.
Yeah, all of a sudden they've got horns. They want to push grandma off the road, and they're raping pizza makers.
Yeah, so, and look, let's be clear. It's not just that, okay? It's everything else associated with it, okay? It is, like you point out, the Steele dossier. We spend all these years listening to Trump-Russia collusion, Trump, even though it's a stupid story that doesn't actually make a lot of sense if you scratch below the surface and give it the sniff test, okay? So we run people of high character and they get destroyed. We drum out people that have personal foibles and leave these big gaps in our power structure. And then you got guys like Raphael Warnock that apparently ran over his wife's foot and ran away from a process server. But hey, Herschel Walker's a piece of shit. Don't you forget. And then on top of all that, you back us into this corner where somebody like Trump looks like not only a good option, but the only realistic option, because at least he's willing to punch back, okay? But for years, we hear about, all this corruption that happened in 16. And then right here in Georgia, from Stacey Abrams herself, the Kool-Aid woman, oh yeah. Yeah, she didn't lose the 2018 election. No.
In fact, she just said, last week, that she never denied losing the 2018 election.
Yeah, and then so it's not just that politicians lie. It's not even that politicians lie to me and you directly. We've come to the point to where the internet is a thing and it's possible to catch them in their lies. And for whatever reason, we've accepted that we'll allow politicians to clarify their statements. And that's not what they're doing. Instead, Stacey Abrams, for example, is doubling down and looking you dead in the face and saying things like, "Oh, that's not a heartbeat. That's just a machine invented by the patriarchy in order to oppress women."
The evil white men manufactured a thing that sounds like a heartbeat to oppress your bodily autonomy.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultrasounds are a white conspiracy.
So, yeah, would I love to have, would I love to be able to have better choices? Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I'll make you a God's honest deal. You guys go first. Get rid of the pieces of shit in your party. Because we've proven that we'll hold our side accountable. And you could say, well, recently you haven't. You're damn right. We're tired of losing. And since control of the Senate is on the line and Herschel Walker has one job, and that's to vote center-right, that's it. That's all he's got to do once he gets there. So just assuming he's this big, giant piece of shit, he'll fit in with the rest of the politicians quite nicely.
Real quick, just because Jimmy McGill, who's apparently 14, because he doesn't understand that there are people still alive who supported Clinton in the 90s, says that Trump forced himself on 3 women, and the Justice Department thinks he still has documents from the National Archives. Here's the one. Yeah, it turns out Trump never completed the proper forms from HR to legally become president. So this is a kid. This is a kid that believes that believes that Donald Trump peed on prostitutes.
That has to be a joke. Yeah, look, let's. All right.
So let's get to Abrams again.
And then finally, just take a victory lap here.
Obama judge.
Yeah, and this is important too. It's an Obama judge.
This is kind of like the Army figuring out that retards can't serve. That's not what they wanted. That's not what they wanted to know. They wanted to prove the opposite.
You probably would be better off dropping F-bombs than R-bombs for the algorithm. Okay. And look, we can chew into the article. Okay. I'm going to sum up and paraphrase what the judge told the Stacey Abrams fair fight thing, whatever they call their name is. This judge basically said, yeah, Georgia's pretty shitty. It's shitty law and Georgia sucks, but it's not unconstitutional, so...
And I'll give the judge this. It is a shitty law.
And I'm afraid you're going to have to go pound sand. It's a middling law.
It doesn't go right. It's kind of like constitutional carry. It's a misnomer. The law doesn't... Yeah, the new voter law doesn't go nearly far enough. Yeah, although Georgia's election system is not perfect, the challenged practices violate neither the Constitution nor the VRA.
Voting Rights
Let's be clear. People like this judge and Stacey Abrams are making statements like the new law outlaws having food and water in polling places because they want you to believe they're stating it intentionally vaguely because they want you to believe that what has happened is you're not personally even allowed to carry a bottle of water with you while you're waiting in line in a long voter line. The fact is, what has been outlawed is within a certain distance of the polls, you're not allowed to go up wearing party gear. You can't put on your Vote for Stacey t-shirt and hand out fried chicken in the line. There's a reason this is important. Democrats in Georgia actually go and get buses and drive to low-income neighborhoods with food and drinks, and they fill the bus up with voters, and they feed them normally bulk fried chicken because it's cheap. And they
racist.
Yeah, bunch of racists. Well, they're Democrats. They are the slave party. But they go and pick up a bunch of black voters from low-income homes in buses with buckets of fried chicken and drive them to the polling places. This has happened every election for years. It's one of their key mechanisms to drive turnout.
Well, there were just too many things in the Georgia system, like early voting and 24-hour polling stations and all that. Like it's
to be clear, the new law doesn't outlaw picking them up with the bus and feeding them fried chicken on the way. No, it just says you can't walk up and down the line at the polling place and in your Vote Abrams t-shirt handing out food and water.
Yeah. Well, you can't wear a Vote Abrams. That was already the law that you wouldn't be able to wear Vote Abrams t-shirt.
Yeah, but it's not enforced. I was a poll watcher for 2020, and it was mind-blowing. The poll workers are just straight up wearing blatantly artisan political material on their clothing, and there's no enforcement mechanism. Nobody's stopping it. So you go in and you see a woman and she's like, vote Abrams on her t-shirt. And you're like, oh my God, you're not supposed to be doing that here. So you go and you find the guy that you're supposed to report that to, and you walk up and he's wearing a t-shirt that says Carter Foundation. You're like,
Yeah.
you're like running through your life through downtown Atlanta, and the first police officer you find is wearing a blue bandana.
Man, I like the way the sergeant major rolls. He says he's gonna have fried chicken for breakfast.
Yeah, it's leftover. He offered me some yesterday, but I had already had spaghetti.
I can't look. I can't argue with his assessment there. But long story short, the big election lawsuit that Stacey Abrams has been hanging her hat on to suggest that somehow Brian Kemp stole the election, and she's going to tell you now that she was never a 2018 election denier. But I promise for like the last 3.5 years, she would tell you, hey, guess what? I totally won that election. Brian Kemp stole it. This lawsuit is one of the big things she was going to hang her hat on. And all she had to have was a not loss, and she could have claimed victory, and it would have looked that way in the press. So the fact that she's been summarily rejected, like, it's an L, okay? It is absolutely an L.
Yeah.
For the Kool-Aid woman.
I'm going to address Jimmy McGill one more time real quick. Just, look, my dude, that's clearly not what we're talking about this morning. Why don't you come back when we're talking about national politics instead of when we're talking specifically about Georgia politics? You're clearly just a troll. Come back and troll when you're on topic. If you've got something intelligent to say about this conversation, we'd welcome it.
Or even trollish?
Yeah, even trolly.
So,
you are Trumpies, though. Okay, yeah, and you're a shitty little nothing burger. Have a nice day. So.
Anyhow, Abrams lost, whatever. Whatever. Abrams. She lost. It was embarrassing. Georgia's an incredibly important state. For whatever reason, the Democrats have set their side on it. I think it's a combination of, yeah.
You're not telling them to talk about, oh, wow, you really are about a 13-year-old that's into peeing on hookers, aren't you? All right. So that's all we've got this morning. We're going to go ahead and wrap that up.
Hey, that whole fried chicken thing, do you know why they feed black people fried chicken?
Because it's delicious.
Exactly.
That's why I eat it.
You thought we were about to be racist AF. That's the Democrats.
Y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.